There's gotta be a way to rotate these tracks. Maybe there's a control panel nearby.
listening to America Overnight, celebrating 29 years shining a light in the shadows. Thanks for staying with us. Here's our first caller.
What I'm about to tell you, if they found out, I don't know what would happen.
If who found out, brother?
The men in the suits. They told me it was an industrial accident, but this is something else. Something nobody talks about. Ordinary.
This certainly doesn't sound very ordinary, caller.
No, not ordinary. Ordinary. It's a town. And it wasn't an industrial accident. I mean, that's what they said. But that's bullshit.
Whoa, please watch the language, caller. It may be 2 a.m., but we're still a family show.
I'm sorry. It's just, my brother was there. They said the town was destroyed, but it wasn't. I went there. The people are gone, but the town's there. It's still there.
So the population of an entire town disappears, yet the town remains. Tell me, was the phrase, "there is no salvation," written anywhere?
I'm not sure.
The same thing happened in Brazil in 23, a village called Flor Verde. More than 600 people just up and left. The government said they were fleeing guerrilla forces, but we know the truth. A mass abduction. As predicted by my regular guest, Dr. Quincy Reagan.
Abduction? You mean aliens? That's bullshit! I know they're lying!
Now I warned you about the language, caller. I'm afraid we're gonna have to cut you off. And good timing, too. It's time for a short break. Hang in there. America Overnight will be right back.
There is a curious correlation with the yet unknowable forces intruding upon our world, in the form of altered world events. These forces gravitate toward archetypal objects, a gun, a television, a supposedly haunted house. So clearly humanity affects this process. Our collective unconscious is a map of sorts. We hold the key, but we don't know how to use it. We create these archetypes through everyday life, popular culture, urban legends, but we are observing and influencing a complicated system in action. We can change the likelihood of something being a receptacle for these forces just by thinking about it. But we haven't found a method to control the outcome. And yet, there's something unique in us, in our dreams, in the conceptual reality with power with our minds. What's the cause and what's the effect? Are we the starting point or just a necessary evil in this? A byproduct, a reflection, a projection? We'll struggle to find the answers to these hard questions, or die trying.
Annual evaluation of Dylan Faden, formerly P6, performed by Dr. Carla Vaughn. The questions asked here correspond to the 5th iteration of the Gunner's psychological assessment. Are you ready, Dylan? Let's begin then. In a single word, describe the world around you.
Where's Casper?
Dr. Darling is out of the building today.
He's never out. He didn't want to come, did he? He never visits, not since Roberts. Tell Darling it wasn't my fault. I couldn't control it yet, but I can now. I learned. Will you tell him?
In a single word, describe the world around you.
A prison. A cold, empty prison. Not even a poster on the wall.
What is the next number in the sequence 3, 6, 9, 12, 15?
18.
What day is it today?
How the hell would I know? It's not like you give me a calendar.
You find a rabbit in the woods. It is breathing, but not moving. You cannot see any blood. What do?
Leave it.
Expand on that.
It doesn't matter. The rabbit's not real. None of it's real.
What day is it today?
Do you enjoy asking people questions that can't be answered? Is this what gets you up in the morning? What you dreamed of doing as a scared, stupid little girl?
Can you describe a dog to me?
In ordinary, we had a friend. Nosebleed Neo. And when it all went crazy, you know what I mean. Nosebleed Neo turned into a dog. Or something like a dog.
What day is it tomorrow?
Fuck off! I don't know! There is no calendar! How can I fucking know?
Dylan, calm down.
Fuck you! Fuck you and fuck Casper! Hey! Are you watching this, you old fuck? Did you send your bitch because you're too scared of me? Where is Casper?
Security, get a team in here. I need...
See what they have on ordinary. It's all here. Our home, our school, the woods, the dump. Slide projector in the dump outside town. Did they recreate that too? Is that where they keep it? They say when you visit your childhood home, everything feels small, like a miniature, not real. They got that right.
You mentioned a poem last time we talked. By Thomas Zane?
Yes. Beyond the shadow you settle for, there's a miracle illuminated.
I looked the poem up. Only I couldn't find any poet by that name. I did find a European filmmaker who moved here in the 60s, named Thomas Zane.
What? I don't...
No matter. It suits you very well. The poem. How you see things. Maybe you wrote it yourself?
I didn't.
No matter. You've said a few times that you feel like there's a piece of you missing. Can we talk about that?
Okay. Yeah, it's this... I feel an emptiness, a yearning for something that I think I lost.
It's natural for you to feel that way. Your brother and your parents are dead.
No! No. Dylan's not dead. And that's not even it.
You're referring to the imaginary friend from your childhood?
Polaris. She's come back. After a long time, she's calling me. In a dream I saw, she showed me things.
Jesse.
It felt more real than anything. As real as what happened in Ordinary.
The industrial accident in your hometown? That you believe Polaris caused?
No, it wasn't an accident. There was no industrial accident, and Polaris didn't cause it. She saved me and Dylan.
Jesse...
No! It was a cover-up. The government knows about it. There were agents there. Agents from... I don't know exactly. They took Dylan. I'll find them. I won't stop looking. Polaris wants me to go to New York. There's a building there. I have to leave soon. I have to be there at a very specific time. Something hugely important is going to happen.
Jesse, you know we can't let you go until you're well. And that begins by understanding what's real and what's imagined.
Moved the whole landfill here in the middle of New York, and nobody saw a thing. Pretty unbelievable. We should check that lab.
Effective immediately. I'm setting up a new department. Dimensional research in the research sector. Transferring the slide projector there. That's where my focus will be now. The ordinary site remains as is. We'll be back to... I don't know when.
Darling took the projector to the research sector. He dedicated a whole area to it, so he knew it was important. Dimensional research. That's where we go next.
Do you remember Mr. Tomasi, the head of communications? The hiss he was changed into showed up in containment, near the turntable.
I'll take care of it. That thing's not getting away this time.
I've heard reports about his particular use of language and intonation when repeating the hiss babbling. The biological and behavioral distinctions between different hiss-corrupted individuals is truly fascinating. I wonder if I could categorize the data.
And she's already off on her own thing. I've been seeing these Darling presentations all over. Seems like he enjoys the limelight.
So you noticed, huh? When he recruited me out of college, he actually came to visit. He interrupted my physics course by shouting, not quite, Professor, and then marching down to the front of the class where he proceeded to berate the very idea of laws of thermodynamics. Hey, he's been a showboat all his life.
Darling visited you in college?
Yeah, he read a paper I'd published, came to recruit me for the Bureau. I accepted and then spent years waiting for access to the confidential research that Darling promised me. And whenever I ask about my access level, he just mumbles that it's temporarily postponed and then changes the subject to the effect of entropy on luck.
I wonder who else Darling hid his work from. Marshall? Trench? Have you learned anything about Dylan's condition?
Only that he's definitely hiss, but I guess his chanting made that pretty obvious. You know, interestingly, the words of the hiss incantation have an average length of 4 letters. The most common word used 7 times is want. The next most common are through and time. It's very interesting, don't you think?
I don't care about the words. What about my brother?
Right. Sorry, I got a little off track. Well, strangely, his tissue samples all look healthy, unlike the other hiss I've tested.
That's good news. Right? I wanted to talk to you about the crazy things I can do. My abilities. I get the sense that they're not very usual around here.
Well, usual and unusual aren't really benchmarks at the Bureau, but for some perspective, Director Northmore once used the floppy disk to send a bowling ball 6 yards through the air, and that was considered a huge deal. So compared to that, you are most certainly an outlier.
An outlier. I like the sound of that. I should get going.
Don't let me hold you up.
I need the containment protocols for every altered item or object in the model.
I'll send a team to contact Langston. Apparently the director restored HRA production. They're already getting other survivors out of safe rooms.
Great. Maybe I can get back to my office soon.
Lots of errors on this.
I think you're gonna have to
Marshall orders us to just sit on our asses and then leaves? What's the deal?
She must have her reasons. She's probably out doing some recon.
Then she should have taken us with her. Need some action, goddammit.
Through time, I've understood the stories, you know, happiness comes, white pearls, but yellow and red in the eye. Through a mirror, the inverted is me, right? Leave your inside by the door, push the fingers through the surface and move away.
Why haven't we dissected that freak mutation we locked up? We learned so much from his physiology. No, that's fine. I'm sure we can find a more constructive use of our time.